This video update brought to you by RaceDayScore.com. Daily Fantasy NHRA Drag Racing.
They do. Very close. With Iaconio starting to pull ahead. Tremendous pull.
For only the second time since 1971 has the NHRA changed the engine configuration in Pro Stock category. In 1982, they dropped the pounds per cubic inch format and went with 500-inch engines. This year, the NHRA has adopted EFI, shortened the wheelie bars, and made other changes to make the class, as they say, more appealing. Did something need to change for Pro Stock?
Yeah, it was getting rather mundane out there. I mean, everybody was running at basically the same ET, so it was actually just the quickest bracket race out there is all it really in reality was. The inverter shock deal, there's no chassis reaction to these things. They just go straight forward now. The net result is the cars were almost like the Pro Stock trucks, where they got to a level of competition or performance that was the same, and when you get more of the same, then it becomes boring.
How excited were you for this?
You know, I love carburetors. I mean, I understand that everybody wants fuel injection, or that everybody's saying that fuel injection is the wave of the future. But carburetors were pretty awesome on these cars. To me, Pro Stock had hood scoops and carburetors. However, the rules have changed, we'll adapt, and I'm excited for the fuel injection now, but I certainly wasn't the one that was pushing for it.
Much of a challenge was it to learn to drive this new combination?
There's definitely a learning curve associated with it. The throw of the throttle pedal is a lot different, a lot longer, and it's super, super easy to push. So that, in addition to the sound of the motor, the pitch of the motor being completely different, it's a lot more throaty, where the other stuff was really pitchy. So I never used to drive with a tack and a burnout. I never used to drive with a burnout chip either. I always said if you needed one of those, you didn't need to drive a race car. But as far as this new stuff is concerned, the learning curve has been pretty interesting.
You drove in a hood scoop configuration, and Jake Coughlin said sitting in the cars now is like sitting on your couch. Is that correct?
I have a problem with, they made me actually put blinders on, because from bracket racing all these years, I'm always looking down track to see where I'm at to the other guy, and they keep getting on me. You're going to wreck, you're going to crash. But now I really have a hard time because I can see everything. And I actually watched Jason that time. I knew he was out in front of me, but I think I outrun him one thou at the back. And you can see that in the car. So yeah, it's like you see everything.
A lot of changes to be made over the winter. Our two Dodge Darts are new cars, so we didn't have to change those over, but there was definitely a few things we had to change constructing them. The fuel cell had to be moved off to the side to make room for the new K&N duct system that takes the air in from the grill up into the manifold. So that had to be done, and there's no more hood scoop no more, so now we had to cut holes in the opening and mount that duct system to the front of the car, so it'll take all the clean air from the highest pressure, which is the front of the car, into the motor.
Tommy, you're a dyed-in-the-wool carburetors guy. How tough was this for you to take on this challenge?
Well, I went to a couple of schools. I went to the EFI school, and then I went to Holly and stayed for a week, and I learned a lot of stuff. So it's still a big challenge to get the fine-tuning down, but it'll be all right. I'd say 6-8 months from now we'll go, why was it so hard?
What exactly are you looking for?
Right now, I am upgrading the firmware on all the vehicles on the Holly ECU setup. Right now, we need to verify and make sure every car has the same upgraded firmware so the playing field is even. And then after I upgrade and verify the firmware is confirmed, I go and set a password on it so the teams can't go back and upgrade it to firmware to a previous build, which may have led to a performance advantage or something along the lines of like that.
So this kind of prevents stuff like traction control and stuff like that?
Yes, exactly what it does. With the firmware, we can take off any traction control forms. We can hard set the RPM limit to where on the software you can tell it to go to 10, like with these cars, the rev limit is set at 10.5. You can set the software at 10.7 for the RPM, but in the firmware, it's locked at 10.5. So the computer will no longer go past 10.5 in the firmware. But with the software, it shows it goes to 10.7, but it's locked at 10.5 through the firmware. And that's basically what we do, is any adjustments we need to make, we make them in the firmware, make sure all the teams have the same firmware, and we lock and set the password for the firmware for the race weekend.
Everybody knows that I've been after NHRA for 30 years to get EFI on these things. Actually, when I designed the DRC E3 engine out in '97, that was actually designed for fuel injection, and 18 years later we get it. So it's something that's new, and the bottom line of it is whether it has more fan appeal. That's, as us as racers, we're insignificant in this equation from the standpoint that, yeah, we'll adapt to whatever we have to deal with. But if the net result is more spectator appeal for this category, or any category, I don't care which one it is, that's the bottom line.